Hello everybody and welcome. It is that time once again, Christmas time. Now, this week I am going to be uploading 7 videos, one every single day. Something I've never done before. I really wanted to do it because I thought it was going to be interesting. There probably isn't going to be gaming videos, I don't know as of yet, as I've only got a couple videos planned properly. But yes, by rights, you know, there should be a fair amount of work going into this week's videos. So if you are enjoying the content, it would mean the world to me if you were to subscribe if not already, and obviously if you are enjoying these videos and just my videos in general, to drop a like. That would be absolutely fantastic. So yes, without further ado, let's kick off day 1 of our 7 Christmas videos with a nice little Christmas story. Everyone loves a really good Christmas story, you know. They bring heart, they bring love, they bring soul, they obviously bring Christmas. My personal favourite I have here, The Four Wise Men. Now, I love this book. It's a short story. It is based less on Christmas and more, of course, on the story of the Four Wise Men, who we are very much all, you know, aware of. So, let's get into our reading of the Four Wise Men. A group of 4 wise men were to travel to Bethlehem on that sacred night. John, Paul, George and Ringo all had a Ryanair flight booked, as they had received word that the Lord's Son was due to be popped out in the alley behind Bethlehem's biggest IKEA, and they just had to be in attendance. The 4 wise men did have a slight feeling of disappointment, as their holiday in Magaluf had been cut short. With an hour to wait for their flight at the airport, the 4 wise men decided to go into W.H. Smith's to find the Messiah a fitting gift. John came out of the shop with a spiritual incense called Lynx Africa. Paul came out with the world's most expensive bottle of water. Ringo somehow managed to afford a solid block of gold, even though the group had agreed on a £10 budget. George, on the other hand, was nowhere to be seen. As the 3 men heard the announcement that they was ready to board their flight, they heard a man screaming and shouting, "Let go! It's a gift for a baby, I tell you!" John, Paul and Ringo all laid eyes on George, who had been handcuffed by airport security. For some reason, George decided to buy a Glock 17 for the Messiah. Later on that day, George was sentenced to 20 years in jail for acts of terrorism. Halfway through the 8-hour flight, a baby started to scream and cry. The 3 wise men all had the same thought: shame we don't have George's Glock. Eventually, the highly uncomfortable but affordable flight landed. The passengers began to cheer and clap. The pilot then told them to cut that shit out or he would take them home. Still, with a long journey to go, Paul called an Uber and they set off on yet another long travel to see a baby. I know, stupid. When the Uber finally arrived, it certainly wasn't what the 3 wise men had in mind. It was a camel and carriage. Although rather unconventional in MAGA, it did look rather comfortable. During the journey, a bee flew into the carriage and started to harass Ringo. Ringo screamed and tried to swat the bee. Paul quickly intervened and told Ringo to let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Halfway through the journey, they pulled over at a gas station to fill up the camel. The 3 wise men all went into the service station to get themselves some refreshments. John bought a Crucitwix, Paul bought an Abraham sandwich, and Ringo bought a block of Swiss cheese. You know, because it's got holes in it. It's holy. You know, it's holy cheese. Along the way, Ringo pointed up to the sky and shouted, "Look, a shooting star!" Paul then corrected him and told him it was just another missile launch. Finally, the ride came to an end and the 3 wise men were greeted by the sight of an incredibly big IKEA. They all rushed through the camel park and into the alley behind IKEA. Well, all except Ringo, who had never been in an IKEA before and couldn't resist the temptation to go in. John and Paul disappeared into the alley, and it didn't take them too long to spot a young woman laying on the floor, head rested on a bin bag and legs akimbo. John wondered to himself why, after 15 hours of travelling, she was still laying in an alley, but who was he to question the birth of the Messiah? "Hey, Jude," Paul exclaimed as they approached her. "It's Mary," she quickly corrected him. A couple hours of screaming, shouting, cursing, and the occasional fart, a baby's cry, was heard. "It's a girl! With a penis!" the very strange and clearly unqualified nurse joyfully shouted. He handed Mary the baby, and a tear came to her eye. "He's beautiful," Paul said in a hushed tone. "I would cry too." Mary looked at Paul with a grimace. "I'm not crying because I'm happy. I haven't washed in 2 months. He smells like onions." There was an awkward silence, but it was shortly broken by Ringo grunting. He had finally finished in IKEA and was carrying 2 rather heavy boxes. "Look, lads, I've bought a Hurga-Burga-de-Ferg and a Billy bookcase." Before they could say anything back, Mary said excitedly, "That's the perfect name. Thank you, Ringo." Ringo smiled, as he only bought the Billy bookcase because he loved the name. Mary spoke in a soft voice. "Do you like that name? I think it really suits you." And that was the story of how our Messiah, Hurga-Burga-de-Ferg, was born. The end. Wow. What a riveting story that was. And just such a reputable author as well. I mean, it's poetry. It's just pure poetry. So, that is the end of our little story. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, how about time for some outtakes of where I just failed reading the story. A group of 4 wise men was... Oh dear. Okay, yeah, this is the start of the outtakes. There's going to be a lot of them. John came out of the shop with a spiritual incense called... Let's try that one again. John came out of the shop... Oh, this is going to take so much longer than it needs to. Come on, we're only on page 1. We're only on page 1 here. Let's not lose it. John Fuck. Why have I decided to do this? Why? John came out of the shop with a spiritual incense. John came out of the shop with a spiritual incense. Cool. Halfway through the journey, they pulled over. John bought a... Okay, we're not getting stuck in a shop again. We are not getting stuck with people buying stuff again. A couple of hours of screaming, shouting, ooh, laughing. A couple hours of screaming, shouting, cursing, and the occasional fuck. I'm not crying because I'm happy. I haven't washed in 2 months. He smells like... Oh. Just bring it down a notch. Death, everything, you know. What stuff really brings you down? The economy. Look, lads, I've bought a Hurga-Burga-de-Ferg. No, okay, no. And that was the story of how our Messiah, Hurga-Burga-de... What was it? Oh no, I forgot what I said. Oh yes, what a hoot. Once again, just the basics of the English language never fails to be a problem for me. But yes, that is going to be all for video number 1 of 7. As I say, tomorrow, same time, probably. I don't actually know when I'm uploading this yet. There will be another Christmas video. What's it gonna be? Who knows? Well, I do, but you know, that's besides the point. So yes, thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed, do remember to leave a like, and also if you do want to make sure not to miss the next Christmas upcoming videos, and also just my future videos in general, do remember to subscribe. That would be wonderful. Thank you very much for watching. I shall see you in the next video. Goodbye.